Guru Nation, welcome to another episode of Random Musings from the Clinical Trials Guru. My name is Dan Sfera. This is episode 318, I believe, of Random Musings from the Clinical Trials Guru. So I did a short 1-minute video on this, and I wanted to expand on it. And initially I had this episode lined up for Dr. Hazen. We're going to talk a whole lot of things about what a PI is in research, what a physician is in research, a physician's role, or the many different roles a physician can have in research. But she rescheduled, so that's going to be episode 319. So stay tuned for that one if you're listening. This one is somewhat related. It's not just about physicians, but it's about job titles in general. And I'm going to show some strategies for you if you're a job seeker. This is, of course, going to be relevant for you. But if you're a site, even if you're a site owner, all right, this is going to be beneficial to you because it's going to help you develop a strategy for retaining employees a little bit better in an indirect way, but still, I think it's something worth listening to. So I got a question today. Matter of fact, I'll read it to you right now because I want to make sure I get the full... I want Guru Nation to get the full gist of what this person said. So, hey Dan, what's the difference between a clinical trial associate and a clinical research associate? And then I answered, but it got me thinking, and I did a quick 1-minute video because I know those tend to go, not viral in our industry, but they tend to get viewed more. And then I led back to this episode. So the answer is it's impossible to tell what that job actually means. So CTA is a perfect example, clinical trial associate. Okay, I've also known companies that call CTAs clinical trial assistants. I've also seen jobs where CTA, the same acronym, okay, means clinical trial administrator. So it's impossible to tell what these roles are, and it's not just CTA, okay? You have trial master file specialist, study startup specialists, you have research associates that are not clinical research associates, so it's pretty confusing. You have there's just so many different job titles. You go on Zillow, or not Zillow, I'm in a real estate world right now. Interest rates are all-time low, so that's a whole nother topic. On Monster, ZipRecruiter, that's the one with the Z that I got it confused with. ZipRecruiter, just go on ZipRecruiter right now and look, just type in clinical research. Matter of fact, I'll do it with you while we talk. So I'm going to ZipRecruiter right now, and I'm typing in clinical research just to show you how many different job titles there are and why this can be confusing for people. All right, so it's not just study coordinator and clinical research coordinator. All right, it's clinical trial associate, clinical trial administrator, clinical trial assistant, in-house CRA. Maybe a CTA means in-house CRA at one company and doesn't mean it, and means a whole nother thing at another company. It's impossible to tell, and it's not even important. All right, that's basically what my 1-minute video said. This is not even important. What matters is the job description. So I just typed in on ZipRecruiter clinical trial. So we have clinical trial assistant. We have associate director clinical trial project management. We have clinical research coordinator. We have clinical trial project coordinator. We have associate clinical study representative. We have medical safety officer. I'm reading you these things organically. I'm not making this up. Remote clinical trial manager, associate manager clinical trial management, clinical safety representative, clinical research representative, senior clinical trial lead, manager clinical trial management, clinical trial educator, lead clinical research coordinator. These things just go on forever. I don't want to bore you with just reading. I can do like 5 hours on this, just reading these things. Senior CRA, home-based CRA, in-house CRA. None of this stuff matters, okay? What matters is the job description. The job description are the fundamentals in this book right here. If you're listening, I'm talking about the book we wrote, The Comprehensive Guide to Clinical Research. That's what matters. Within each of those job descriptions, the fundamentals of our industry exist. It doesn't matter if it's called chief monitoring officer or chief issuer of queries officer. If you look at the job description, you'll see, or at least you should know if you read the book, or you listen to the podcast, or you watch on YouTube, what that title actually means. Okay, so this is what I told this person. Now, why does this benefit you, the job seeker? Let's go with the job seeker first, and then you'll see. Hopefully you'll see how this ties in. I like to tie everything in together. Sometimes they don't even fit, but like you just try. It's a good exercise. This one I think fits. Okay, this one fits for the site owners as well as the job seekers. So let's go with the job seekers first, then we'll tie it in with you entrepreneurs out there that own sites. Okay, how to retain your employees, because at the end of the day it's all about them, right? In your business. There's other stakeholders too, but they're very important. So, if you are a job seeker, what this means for you and why this is important for you is if you are trying to level up, if you are somebody that is, let's take for example, clinical trial assistant, okay? This job title here on ZipRecruiter says, ensures clinical trials are compliant with regulatory guidelines by reviewing study documents for completeness and accuracy as they are returned from internal and external customers. Okay, let's take that in reverse. Let's say you're a clinical trial assistant at a research site, and you see this position, clinical trial assistant, with a completely different job title, right? Same job title, completely different job description. Okay, this one, review study documents for completeness and accuracy, so basically Alcoa-C, as they are returned from internal and external customers. So when the sponsors send things to the site or to the CRO to review, this is essentially like an in-house CRA, okay? So you're a clinical trial assistant at a site, and you want to be a clinical trial assistant or an in-house CRA, because this is what this job description is, at a CRO, right? Same exact title, but different, a little bit different job description. You can take this job description of the job that you want and reverse engineer it to what you've already done at your site. If you work at a research site, chances are you've done a lot of this stuff, especially if it's a small to mid-sized site. When they start getting larger and they start getting into academic institutions, things are more streamlined. This becomes a little more difficult. But even then, there are ways to let your skills shine, skills that may not be evident in your job title. So if I saw somebody that was a clinical trial assistant, and I saw clinical trial assistant on their resume, as a site owner, I now assume, and as a CRO owner now, a startup CRO, I assume that this is somebody that was assisting a study coordinator. So if that's all they put on there, and a bunch of stuff that they've done at the site that just kind of confirms my bias, and I'm hiring for an in-house CRA, I'm not going to think, this person's qualified. Why are they applying here? But if they would put their skills as the job description, and don't lie, this is not a green light for you to go lie on your CVs, but chances are, if you're working at a site, you've done just about everything. Like all these jobs, even if you've been a CRA, a coordinator and want to be a CRA, you've done what CRAs do. Case in point, let's look at what a clinical research associate does, a senior clinical research associate, okay, from ZipRecruiter. The clinical research associate will directly supervise all study management activities for the company's global clinical efforts. This is a team-focused role working directly with other clinical regulatory professionals, including working with CROs, regularly interacts with regulatory agencies, physicians, and other scientists. So this senior CRA at this company will directly supervise all study management activities for the company's global clinical efforts. And even this role, senior clinical research associate, is a different role than a senior CRA at another CRO. Sometimes senior CRAs in the title means it's just showing your seniority, how many years you've been doing this, or it's a title they give. Hang on, entrepreneurs, we're going to talk about job titles and how you can retain employees. How you can retain employees. Sorry, I was texting somebody right now. How you can retain employees. So basically, like this senior CRA description that I just read is different than a senior CRA at a traditional CRO. So what does this even mean? Well, you got to read the job description. Look at what they want. This is what they want. So if you are a CRA for a regular CRO, okay, this is how this job, if you really want this job, how it could work for you. Okay, look what they do. The senior CRA will directly supervise all study management activities for the company's global clinical efforts. Try to think of a time when you as a CRA did more than what was asked of you of your job description. Okay, if you can't think of one, then don't do anything there. Keep reading. This is a team-focused role working directly with other clinical and regulatory professionals. Right there. Any CRA, I don't care how junior, if it's day one that you're a CRA, you work with regulatory people. You probably have regulatory people in your CRO. You work with clinical ops people. Okay, so you can immediately put that as a skill on your CV. I've worked with clinical and regulatory professionals. Okay, this includes working with CROs in the job. I'm reading the job description again. Involved in the company's clinical efforts. So did you ever interact with the sites? Did you ever interact with your in-house CRAs? Did you ever interact with colleagues? Integrating those efforts with other departments in the company. Okay, so you got to put these skills on your CV, all right? You can't just put clinical research associate if that's all you are. I mean, that's obviously what you have to put as your title. You can't lie. But you have full control of your job description. You have full control of your job description. That's such a powerful thing. Let's look at clinical research representative. Okay, I'm on ZipRecruiter again. Another weird title. Who knows what this could mean? Anything. Who knows? So let's read the job summary. This is a recruiter. Okay, so let me expand this because they're just talking about who they are. This is a recruitment company. Okay, here's the responsibilities. Okay. Review and ensure accuracy of clinical study files. All right. So if you are a coordinator or even like lower, like a research assistant for a coordinator, have you ever reviewed and ensured accuracy and completeness of clinical study files? We have our interns do this stuff. Okay. We have our interns. One of the first things they do when they're onboarding to our clinics is file things in regulatory binders. Check right there. 1 week of experience, you actually qualify, but nobody's going to know that if you don't put it in your CV, okay? Here's the next responsibility. Organize documents and data in the trial master file, Ctms system, and ensure compliance with internal procedures. So if you've worked at a site, you probably don't use a trial master file system, but you may use a Ctms, or there may be another internal SOP of what you guys do, how you guys organize documents. A lot of sites are going electronic now, okay? And they are going to be so in the next decade for sure. So that's another one where you're putting the same responsibility on your CV, even though your job title is not what they're looking for, okay? So, and then, you can do this with any position you want, okay? I'm not saying you're a perfect fit for all of them because you're not. But you can make yourself a more attractive candidate by catering your CV to each job. Now, I promised the site owners I'm going to talk to you guys and gals about how you can use this to retain employees. So if you're like me, if you have a bunch of small sites and you can't necessarily you can't compete with bigger sites on how much you're going to pay your employees. But every employee, as you know, has different goals, has different ambitions, has different ideals that they want for their career. This is why it's your role as a site owner to figure out exactly what your employees want and you help them achieve those goals in exchange for them working for you. And part of that is you're paying them a little less, but they're willing to stay with you because they know, at least with you, it's a smaller place. You're actually going to be able to deliver on some of these promises. You're actually going to be able to help them out. And if you're at a larger place, I'm going to get into some strategies for you too on how you can do this. But if you're in a smaller place, figure out each employee, especially the ones you want to keep long term, what they want to do, where they want to go. Get them to be honest with you. This is a hard part. They don't just tell you their honest goals during the first interview. They're going to, over time, as you build a relationship with them, this is why this benefits the small and medium-sized sites more. You get to know your employees really well. Build that trust, figure out what it is that they want, show them, don't just tell them, show them how you're going to help them achieve their goals, okay? In exchange for working with you for this many years, this is exactly what you're going to do. You're going to hold them accountable for them doing the job for you that you're paying them to do, and they're going to hold you accountable for helping them achieve their goals in the industry, even if it means leaving you at some point, all right? And you should have that like a framework established and understood between you and the employee. And I'm not talking about contracts and all that stuff. Just one-on-one, you got to figure it out, okay? Now, if I would know that one of my staff members, like a coordinator, wants to be a senior clinical research associate with the job description I just read. Let me read it to you again. Performs a study lead or study manager. Ensures study execution in accordance with the study protocol. And this is a tough one, to go from a coordinator to a senior clinical research associate, doing all this stuff, which is not even a senior CRA. This is more like a project, what would this be called? This is more like regulatory affairs mixed with project manager. Like you're supposed to meet with FDA. So this is a complicated one, but I'm using this as an example so that I don't get excuses from people of we can't do this. You chose one that's too easy. Okay, here's some of the duties. Study coordinating, planning, and logistics to ensure project milestones are met. All right. I mean, tell your employee that you're going to have them do these kind of things in the real study with you. Every study needs to ensure project milestones are met. Every study identifies, resolves, and escalates issues that have a significant impact to the study execution. Every study provides updates to cross-functional teams on a regular basis. I'm just reading from the job description. Every study needs this. Every site needs this. Contributes to the development of the protocol, informed consent, CRFs, and any additional study documents. So you may not be able, if you're at a site, to do all of that, but you can certainly create your source documents for the site. Most studies require the sites to create the source documents. Most sites give the sites a template for the informed consent form and then have them created with the IRB. You can create ads for the study that are approved by the IRB. So you're helping develop documents for the study. Put these on your CV. If you're the employer, give your coordinator, let them do things beyond the scope of their job function and show them that this is going to benefit you later if you want. All right, they should be on board with this because this is going to put them on a faster track, on a faster pathway to their dream job, which a lot of them are going to realize later it's not their dream job, but that's a whole nother podcast. Towards their dream job faster than the bigger competitor across the street or the university across the street that's stealing all your employees because they're just doubling what you're paying them, okay? You got to communicate this to them. Don't lose them and let them find out the hard way. Tell them up front, hey, I'm only going to be able to pay you $20 an hour. Those guys, I know they're going to pay you like 28, but here's the difference. You want to be a CRA. This is how I'm going to help you. Not only that, I will leverage my contacts to make sure that happens. Okay, so give them titles, essentially. If your SOPs allows for it, give them titles. Let them actually put these titles on their CV if they're actually doing this for your site. All right, and definitely help them get these study responsibilities on their CV as well. So this is some quick stuff, obviously, for the job seekers, but for the sites too. Think about what your employees want. I mean, I know it might be hard to believe, but employees have a life outside of you, and they have ambitions and aspirations of their own. You're not the only one who has these aspirations. So figure out what it is that they want. If you are a big site, like a hospital or university, and you want to keep your staff, you can. It gets a lot more complicated because I know all the red tape. I just know some of the red tape and the bureaucracy that's in these institutions. So I don't know if this is going to work for everybody, but I know a lot of places, a lot of big academic institutions that operate as small departments, and those are the ones that do really well. And so if you have freedom within your institution's guidelines, you can have them do cross-functional things, okay? And then you can mentor your employee along the way. Not only that, but at these larger institutions, you can leverage more contacts. You have more contacts. Your institution has more clout. So coming from you recommending an employee to somebody else means more. A letter of recommendation from you means more than it would from me as at my small site. So you have a lot of things going for you too. So don't want to leave you guys out either. But I understand in many cases you guys are handcuffed at these big hospital institutions, academic institutions. But hopefully this helps. Job seekers, okay, like use common sense. Look at what the job descriptions are. That's going to tell you what you need to be learning if you want that job. Those are the things you got to learn. Those are the skills you've got to develop. You've got to go intern, get those skills any way you can, put them on your CV. Employers, figure out what your employees want, figure out when they want to achieve it as far as future career. See if you can do that internally for them. That'd be best if you want to keep them. But if you can't and they outgrow your site and need to move on to bigger, greener pastures, help them. Create the roadmap for them. Be that source for them because it's going to come back to you in the long run as well. And then for the hospital and academic institutions, I gave you a little bit of help, but basically, if you can, try to operate like a smaller clinic. All right. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Catch you all later. Bye-bye.